This video is sponsored by Artesian Build Supercomputers. Check their link in the description and use my code CaffeinatedSimz for up to $100 off. Hey, what's up? Hello, my name is Heather and I like coffee, I like my dogs, and I like The Sims 4. And I hope you guys like that intro because for this episode, we're doing something a little different. I'm teaming up with some amazing other Simmers in the community to complete a Haunted House of Horrors collab. And there are some pretty fantastic builders within this group, guys. So make sure you check out all of these names here and within the description below. If you guys couldn't tell from my little sneak peek, the movie that I have chosen, or movies rather, would be Saw 1 and 2. I'm sure we've all seen the notorious creepy rundown bathroom from the first movie, but I just had to build the rest of the house from the second movie and include it all in one speed build. So you're about to see some pretty twisted rooms and contraptions that I have recreated from the actual movie and put into my Sims game, which means this video is not suitable for younger audiences. Some of the objects within the game might be triggering or uncomfortable for some viewers. So with all of that being said, grab yourself a cup of coffee because
I want to play a game.
All right, so here we are with the exterior of the build, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, but you don't really get a good look at the outside, other than when Jigsaw brings the dad of the little boy from the second movie outside to rescue the little boy, who's actually not even in the building anymore. It's a complete mind turn, guys. I definitely recommend watching these movies. I don't even like the gore, but they are really good, which is why I chose to build it. It also has a very unique floor plan, which I will pull up here so you guys can see what I'm basing the layout off of, because there's actually a lot of rooms in this house that aren't displayed in the movie. And these pop-out windows are so difficult, especially on the second floor. They gave me such a hard time with the roofing. I kind of cheated with one of the windows, which I'm sure you guys will see later. And here you guys can see I'm trying to put the staircase in, and it does lead down to a room in the basement, which could hypothetically connect to all of the rooms in the basement, but Jigsaw has barred certain parts of the basement off, so only a specific room in this house is accessible. There's actually a lot of like twists and turns and weird little skinny hallways and nooks throughout this build that I wasn't necessarily a fan of, but I tried and I think it actually turned out pretty well. The wallpapers I'm using for basically all of this build are Mimoto custom content. They are the Silent Hill themed custom content for The Sims 4, and I definitely recommend using any of that person's custom content if you're trying to make a spooky build, because I found everything I needed. And I actually saved you guys a lot of dead time watching me struggle with these roofs, because I spent probably about 40 minutes, maybe even an hour, just working on the roofs. But here we are already working on the clutter and the lovely landscaping, which you can see is just trash and more trash. It's really not a great area, guys. So then we go upstairs and I start trying to figure out the floor plan for up here. It's really difficult with all the winding turns and hallways within the build, judging by the floor plan that I used, which I actually found online, and it was fan made. So I don't know how accurate this build is to the real set of Saw, but I tried my best. There's a bunch of different bedrooms throughout the build, which you can see I'm trying to plan the space for right here. I'm like adjusting any wall that I can to try to fit those weird little hallways that are scattered throughout the building. And that room up there is actually just like a little foyer sitting room that I end up putting couches in later on, once I end up figuring how I want the layout to look. And then of course, obviously we need more lights. So I start lighting up the place, and I apologize, I end up spinning around in those circles quite a lot. This is actually my first speed build. So I hope you guys like it, and I hope this voiceover isn't too awful for you. The wallpapers that I'm using, I'm placing one at a time because each swatch of those wallpapers is actually a different style of that wallpaper. And then I just used like very basic old looking like rundown doors for the main doors in the upstairs. And then here we go back to the roof, where you can see I am kind of indecisive and kind of messy, but I didn't want to spend more time than I had to, so I thought it looked fine and I just went with it. And this is how it turned out. So let me know what you guys think of it. I'm definitely by any means no roofer. Hopefully it's not that bad. I don't know why I add all these peaks on the roofs. I feel like it just makes it look a little bit more distinguished and a little bit more old school. I don't know. I thought it was very fitting. And then again, I'm just kind of tackling the different types of rooms that have different colors of wallpaper and using the different swatches to get different style of each wallpaper. Like some have more scratches, some have more stains, some have like scuffed up paint and holes in the wall. So it actually saves a lot of time adding up all of that extra wall design, which helps a lot. And then I realized there's actually more pop-out windows on the back. So here you see I'm putting those in, and of course that means a lot more roofing, which you guys can probably tell that I just am obsessed with and love doing. No, I really don't. And then I actually realized I used the wrong types of roofs. So I switched those out for something that like comes out with a little bit more of a lift off of the building. And when I was doing that, I found more like rusty, old looking, torn up brick wallpaper that I think looks a lot more fitting to this type of building. And then I turned it around because I also noticed within the floor plan of this house, there's actually like 2 fire escapes going up each side of the building. So I try to make my own type of fire escape with that later. And of course we need to add more barred up windows because how are the Sims going to escape if there's no bars on the windows? So I'm just trying to add as much as those as I can, and it makes me realize that I don't like how I place the windows on the other side. So I fix those up super quick, and then you can kind of see I'm trying to figure out where I would put the fire escape in because there's actually like a hallway that leads out to the fire escape. So I had to mess with the interior layout again, but I think I ended up making it work pretty similar to what the sketch was anyways. So I'm just trying to figure out how to place the fire escapes to the actual hallway upstairs. And then I used some pretty tall fences that kind of could pass for that, as well as a custom content prison gate door, which also is helpful to lock it all up so nobody gets in there or nobody escapes. And then I turn around and do that to the other side as well. And we need to figure out how we can get out on that side. So I had to tear down everything that I had just done on that side to be able to fit it all in. But I think I made it work. I think it doesn't look awful. And then we move back inside here so I can continue boarding up more of the house. And then of course the axe that was left in that main room there of the actual movie. And then while I'm doing that, I just kind of like rough up these wallpapers a little bit more, make it look a little bit abandoned, like somebody has definitely been in here before and tried to escape before, but nobody lives here anymore. So I'm just trying to make it look as old as possible for that, with all these cracks on the walls and missing wallpaper, and it looks like scratches all along the paint, spider webs, of course, because certain rooms people can't actually get into. I actually had a lot of fun playing with this build, and I'd never had the spooky pack or the vampires pack before, so it allowed me to really play with all of those items, as well as a different style of custom content that I don't usually tend to download, but it's Halloween, guys. You gotta be all spooky. And then here, I'm just kind of fixing the windows on the exterior to make the building look a little bit more realistic. And then you can see I'm trying to work on the basement. So this room in the basement is accessible right underneath the stairs in that main little foyer area. And this is actually where one of the antidotes in the second movie was hidden within that fireplace there, but you had to crawl up into the fireplace to be able to pull on the antidote, which unfortunately for that person was a trap and it didn't end so well for them. So I'm just trying to replace everything according to how that room looked in the movie. I went hard, guys. Like, I screenshot the movie while I was watching it. I wrote down in a notepad like different things that were in each room. And in this room, there was like a little autopsy section across from the fireplace. So that's what that area is over there. And then of course we just add more wall decorations to make everything look more rough. And then we move back upstairs and start adding more garbage and trash to just kind of make this look like an abandoned building. And I add a little bit of a closet there for when you first walk in, even though nobody's gonna be hanging up their coats, let's face it. And then we have a kitchen, which you don't even see in the movie, but I wanted to build it anyways because you get carried away when you're doing this kind of build. And you have all the custom content and debug items to do it, which is where that fridge came from. And then I obviously place tapes around in like every room because he leaves tapes for his victims to listen to, and that's what they wake up to. And then the vents that release that toxic gas that everyone's breathing in are scattered all around the house as well, in every room possible. No safe rooms in this house, guys. And then I just kind of make this area look more like a foyer. Like I put an old rusted wardrobe there, and I did notice that there's lights all throughout the hallways. So I added the spooky looking lights from Mimoto's custom content list. And then we start working on the living area, which you actually don't see in the movie as well. But like I said, I wanted to build everything I could, and I'm not just gonna leave the rooms blank if I do the floor plans. So I had fun. I used my creativity because I really had nothing to go off of. So, I mean, on the plus side, nobody can tell me I did it wrong, right? They were definitely something that I felt was required for this build, even though they weren't shown in the movie. And then here is another one of those rooms. It's actually Jigsaw's office. And though it's not shown in the movie, I feel like it's pretty important for this build because like this is where he does all his research on his victims. This is where all his torture traps are, all his reading files. So I tried to fit it as close to like a killer's office as I could. And then we move on to the room that the second movie actually starts in, and that is the safe room. Safe as in the only safe space is crawling up into a locked safe, where one of the antidotes happens to be. However, that safe is locked, and it's actually covering a trap door that leads into a basement room underneath. Not the oven room, but a different part of the basement, which leads to the notorious bathroom in the first movie. And then in the process of decorating this room, I found these like little posters of people, and I thought maybe they could be used as like his victims that he's been tracking. And in the movie, they actually have the fireplace like bricked off. So I ended up just shrinking down chimneys to provide that brick barricade that they had in the movie. And then I'm just kind of adding all the other furniture items that I noticed within that room. Like there's a chair, there's a couch that Amanda Young ends up like digging through. There's also just a bunch of like trash and garbage in the room. So I make sure to like clutter that up really well. And then I just add a couple of like bookcases and lamps on the floor and, you know, books around the floor, just make it look like it's trashed and it's definitely not organized. And I'm just so indecisive. I end up moving everything around so much. And we are obviously going to have to do the gun that is on the other side of the door. So in this part of the movie, Jigsaw has a trap that when somebody opens on the doorknob, it tugs on a string, which actually pulls the trigger. And unfortunately for whoever's trying to open the door, it does not end well. So I try to build that contraption as best as I can with like little wall decoration items that I found. And then I just kind of bring the wall back in so that everything's placed where I want it. And this one was probably the hardest contraption to make because I did not know how to even make a gun in The Sims 4. But we did it, guys. We did it thanks to custom content and mods out there. And then we start working on the rest of the basement, which contains the famous bathroom from the first movie. So I start lighting up the hallways with very cheap lights. And in the second movie, when they're running through the halls to get to the bathroom, it looks like it's a pretty lengthy run. So I try to make those halls like as winding as I could to get to that bathroom. And then I have to figure out the trap door part of how people can actually get down there from the safe room. So I install a ladder because I feel like that works best. And then I add different styles and different swatches of the wallpaper to give everything a little bit more detail. And then I did notice when Amanda and the young kid were running through the winding hallways, he stops at a jail cell type room and like tries to like open the bars, and obviously it's locked. So I try to build that in there too, which we get into decorating a bit later on. And then here we move on to what looks like it could be the bathroom from Saw, possibly. Maybe if I just, you know, like turn the room around a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're okay. So I did notice that the door actually comes in on the opposite side of the room. So I did turn the room around. I don't even know what that thing is or why I thought that was a good idea for like columns along the wall, but I end up taking that giant brown statue thing out of that bathroom because it doesn't work. And if you watched the first movie, you'll see like they had like that two-way mirror. So this room here on the left, I'm actually building as Jigsaw's little watching room. And then on the right, I'm building that jail cell that is just on the other side. I try to give it, you know, all the basic necessities that someone in jail would need. That way they're all looked after. It's all inclusive. We got to make those wall accents pop by adding all of the tears and scratches and stains and all the gross things in life, and a vent for the bathroom because the gas in this house goes everywhere. And then I chose these toilets to use for like urinals because they kind of look like they could be, right? But I did notice there's actually only 2 urinals in the movie, so I ended up getting rid of one. And I just kind of add all these different pipes and tubes all along the bathroom to make it look very old and not modern and not clean. And then you can see those chains that kept those victims in the bathroom during the first movie. And I just kind of hid the ball in behind one of those bars. And what would the Saw bathroom be if it didn't have the skeleton that was laying in the center of the floor the entire movie? Who, spoiler alert, was actually Jigsaw the entire time. Sorry. And then I'm just kind of like trying to add different trash along the bathroom because it didn't look as clean as this bathroom does, even though it doesn't even really look that clean. It is not a room that you would want to wake up in. And then I added that little box that they ended up finding in a hole in the wall, which contained those tape cassettes on. So we had to incorporate that into the bathroom as well. And the culprit, Jigsaw's little puppet himself. And then I just kind of go back to his little watching room and add different types of torture tools and contraptions that he could possibly use for the future. And I make this room look very bloody because it was well used in the first and second movie. And I think we can all agree any victims that entered this basement were quite injured, to say the least. And then I just kind of moved to the trash and trashing up the hallways, trashing up the other oven room, just making sure there's trash in every room, as well as handprints everywhere and, just stains everywhere, making it look like it's really a spooky building. And of course, barring up any obvious ways to get into any other rooms. So then after I'm done cluttering up the basement to my liking, we move on upstairs to one of the first trap rooms. The antidote is actually hiding in this box that's raised up into the air. And it has blades that when you go to reach your hands in to grab the antidote, it definitely does some damage to you. So that's how I tried to portray that trap the best. I just used like kitchen knives and raised them up. And then I think those are just like medical trays. And I shrunk them down to make it look like the little spots your hands would come through. And then I think the needle that I found was a debug item. And of course, we've got to make sure it looks like someone was in this room as well. So I just kind of add some stains and scratches along the walls. There's really not much in this room aside from piles of junk. I think I saw like a chair and a lamp on a tiny little table when you first walked in, but that was literally it. And then we try to make it look as much as we can that someone has definitely been in here and struggled a little bit. And then I forgot more pop-up windows on the second floor. So we go back and ruin everything that I did earlier. Install some vents on the second floor because that's a pretty important feature of the second movie. I think turned out all right considering the layout was pretty much already done and I didn't want to adjust it too much. I'm happy with how they look, but I do want to warn you right here. If you have a fear of needles, skip forward a good 2 minutes because I am about to build one of the worst traps from the movie. It is a giant pit filled with needles. And within the giant pit, there is a key to get through a door. So I just try to fill the pit as much as I could. I'm not even kidding. When I put this through my editor, it was about 43 minutes long of just raising up needles over and over and over and over again. And your girl has a fear of needles, okay? I have one tattoo and my 12-year-old sister held my hand. Yeah. So we managed to get that done. I obviously make it look like there was some struggle going on in that room as well. We had a timer that was right by the door that they were trying to unlock. So if you didn't find the key, by the time that the timer went off, then the door would stay locked. And I also noticed that this happened to look like a little girl's room before it got turned into a torture room. So I add some dolls and little chairs and a stroller and just kind of make it look like it wasn't always a trashed up junkyard. And then we move on to the bedroom and the sitting room, which you don't really see in the movie, but again, I wanted to fill up anyways. So this house is completely furnished, but I do want to let anyone know that goes to download this off the gallery. It's got a lot of custom content on it. So if you'd like any of the furniture, definitely look up the Tumblr of Mimoto's Silent Hill custom content, and then all of this stuff should generate for you. There's not much else used except for debug items, base game, and then the spooky custom content. And then as I was going through the different things that I could put in, I found so much more things that Jigsaw could use in his office. So I add those in his office, which are quite creepy, if I do say so myself. And then I go back to just making this room here look like junk. Like no one's really sleeping there anymore. No one would want to sleep there anymore. There's dirt piles underneath the bed from not being swept regularly or vacuumed regularly. I don't even know how that bed is made, honestly. But I continue building and making it look as rundown as I possibly could. I do add some decorations like whoever was there used to care about how it looked like. And then there's these really tiny rooms along the sides of the building on the second floor, which drove me nuts because like, what are you supposed to fit in there? So I just kind of made them like Jigsaw's storage closets, threw his jackets and his sweaters in there, crates and weapons and ammo boxes and guns on the walls, and of course, his tapes that he leaves all of his victims. And then I start building a bathroom in one of those small rooms, and like a broiler room in that room there, and an art room in that one. But then I end up realizing that this bathroom I'm making right here is literally 5 steps away from that teeny tiny little powder room that I just made. So after I'm done this bathroom, I end up taking that one down and just making it like another storage closet. This bathroom here, I would say, is probably like the master bathroom where the majority of guests would go if they had access to it. And then I just find like rocks, which I, in my head, feel like could be busted up drywall from people scratching at the walls and whatnot. So I scatter them around the build as well. And I mean throughout the entire build, because people are fighting to get out of this place. It is no hotel suite. And then you could see I'm moving the bathroom items from that teeny powder room to this little room here because it's a little bit further away from the other bathroom. And then I turned the older little powder room into just another storage closet. And then the last room here, I start to build another bedroom, which the tenants of the home have no access to, but I try to make it look as decorative as I can. And like whoever did get into that room encountered one of Jigsaw's traps, which is the reason for the stained bedding. And I cluttered it up as much as I could. I put in a wardrobe, a little dresser where someone would do their makeup. Like I'd like to think this probably would have been the master bedroom, even though it's tiny, like it's got taste for Halloween night anyways. And then I put a lot of gurneys you'll see throughout the build. I just kind of include those wherever because I'm assuming that's how Jigsaw carries them downstairs because the man is an elder. I don't think he's going to be lifting up 200-pound men and bringing them downstairs to his basement. So once I'm done cluttering up that room, I just kind of like check that I have every room decorated how I like. And the last I need to worry about is what the outside of the building looks like by the end of the movie. And that requires a hearse as well as some police cars because they end up busting Jigsaw even though he's sick and doesn't really have much time to live as it is anyways. But even though the police pull up out front, there is always another right-hand man of Jigsaw's waiting around for his next victim. So that concludes my portion of the Hell House collab. Make sure you check out the rest of the Simmers within the playlist because there is going to be some fantastic builds. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment down below. What was your favorite part of the build? Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. Drink your coffee, play your Sims, and get spooky. It's almost November. It snowed yesterday. Why are they cutting the grass?